Kong, and I ask him this all the time. Like, I ask him questions about China because he was born and raised there. He's about, I think he's 78, so he's older. He was born and raised there, and he moved here for a better life. He escaped into the communism. But I asked him, like, why don't people like fight back? Like, why is it so hard for them to just like, if someone's telling you what to do, why don't you just say no? And he's like, because they're chickens, Ashton. And I'm like, what do you mean they're chickens? I'm like, how can like if someone doing something to me, I'll just be like, no, I'll fight you. I'll fight back, right? Whether it be physical, verbal, mental warfare, I'll fight. But basically, what he said is, Dave, communism has been so ingrained in the people for years and generation after generation after generation.
Um,
So
cattle.
yeah. So like the hard people were like him, and he left. Right? He left. He got out of there. He's like, I'm bringing my family here, and I'm raising my kids here, and I'm gonna get a better life in Canada. And the ones that couldn't get out and stayed have over time the governments and the communists have softened the people and softened them to the point where they're at today, right? Where it's taking 3 years of lockdowns and barricading them to the house. And I don't know if you saw about the story about the fire, which kind of led to all of this, right? Where these people died in the fire because they couldn't get out because they were barricaded in their place because they were, they didn't want everyone to catch the flu, right?
Mm.
Um,
And beat the BBC journalist to prevent him from
yeah,
catching COVID.
yeah, for catching, we don't want you to catch the flu, bro. So we're gonna detain you.
Yeah,
So the people, it's a systematic oppression over time. I think we talked about this last time, systemic oppression, but
yeah.
it's not something new. It's just have been a thing that they've used. Tyrants have used for a long time, and I think what we're seeing now in Canada is we're going to see a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people are just going to say, "Yeah, sure, I'll go along with it." And but what my main concern is in the education system and in the schools, they're softening these kids with all these woke ideologies and policies, so that as generations go on, because this is not a overnight thing. Like controlling a mass population doesn't happen overnight, unless you take a giant military in and put guns to everybody's head.
Mm.
You can't do that in a North American, a Western society, because we have guns too, and people here are willing to fight without guns even, right?
Mm.
So it's going to take a massive psychological warfare over time, and what we're seeing right now is that the beginning of it, right? And
Yeah.
the thing about it is this thinking exponentially growing. I think COVID was the exponentially growing factor. It gave this catalyst for this 10-15 year timeline that these tyrants put in place. Well, okay, now we cut that in half because COVID gave us leverage to, to isolate, to infiltrate, to brainwash, and to do all the things that we normally need to do over 15, 20 year period in 3 years, right? And want more podcasts? Head over to gmg-podcast.com.